because we have got the new biome. And it be purty. Okay, I'm going to say that right now. This is a gorgeous biome. I'm actually happy to see these kind of things getting added. You know, you got a question, where does it begin, where does it end? Because I think there's something that they've done here with a magical stag. I don't think it's in yet, so we'll have to wait for that. But apparently it's possible for you to get magical disco deers that have maybe an extra 100 food, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see if those appear in the future. They haven't appeared on this one, but for those wondering, it's Enchanted Grove. And we are going to be playing on 4 lakes, which... Why? 4 lakes never had this before, right? Oh, this is... Oh. Ah, man, I don't know. All right, we'll have to dissect another time on why this map design is a pretty bad idea. But for now, we're going to focus on the players because this is, of course, 4 lakes, new iteration, something they dropped in. I think it was available on the pop. I just didn't see anyone playing it. Of course, a map that was refined in the custom map tools and made its debut on the Road to Rebel Wallow, and has been altered for use in AoE 4. And you know what? Because it's the early game, we'll introduce the players, and I think we'll have enough time to flambe their decision to put these sacred sites on the island. So, first of all, in the purple, we are going to have Carl playing the English. I feel like this is just kind of a standardized comfort pick for him. I always see him playing this Civ, and the cool thing for him is the English just got buffed up the wazoo. So many flexible builds now. I think that this Civ is going to probably quickly become the number 2 just behind the Delhi. Meanwhile, on the other side, someone who is playing a deuce in a different form here. A big poo-poo Civ, one that basically lost the one thing that was starting to make it good. The Rus, which had a hefty nerf levied at their Golden Gate build. Not Golden Gate build, sorry, Kremlin build. Honestly, with the change they made, where they basically nerfed it from spawning 6 militias to giving you a tick every minute and spawning 2, I think we're just going to see most people go for a Golden Gate. Wouldn't be surprised if, considering it's the first game for both of these players on the new patch, Crackney might just go for cheeky Kremlin anyway. But now that we've introed those, I'm going to quickly address these beautiful little tree lines before Calp does what Crackney done and butchers them. Look at these. Look at these. Isn't that pretty? It's kind of weird that it's a dead willow because that kind of has more of a Halloween feel, which I don't think is what they were going for. But Enchanted Grove, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, even the berries are kind of different. I mean, they don't really look like berries, though. They look more like someone splattered blood all over a bush. But now we can flame the Sacred Site choice. This is not good level design. I don't like this at all. So what's the problem with what they've done here? Well, by putting the Sacred Sites in the corners, you make it inherently harder for someone to try and capture for a win condition. You make it even harder because it's on an island, so they have to have some control of water. And then on top of that, you've alienated one player's side of the map because you only spawn 3 Sacred Sites and the 4th turns into a wall off island, or naturally walled off one via mountains. So in this situation, Crackety would actually find it almost impossible to win with a Sacred Site victory. Sacred Site victories are designed to make it easy to win when someone's turtling. But by designing maps this way, all you've ensured is that someone can actually win the game by landmark victory 10 times easier than they'll ever win by Sacred Site victory. Hope they actually revert this really quickly. Sacred Sites make the most sense when they're in the mid-ground between the players because it's another element that forces them out of their base. When you stick them in the corner like this, it does the absolute opposite and becomes stupid. Just absolutely stupid. Apparently it's supposed to have 4. Well, we know that the pop version, I think, was going to have 4. I don't know if this is one is definitely meant to have 4. If not, it's like a big generation issue, but even before that, it's a big design issue. Sacred Sites, restricted like this, bad. Boulder Bay was fine having one on an island. Same with actually Holy Island because it's in the mid-map, right? So the logic is if I actually control the map and you play Turtle, I can still just force you out via Sacred Site victory. You can't do that here. It's so silly. So, you know, if Relic find this, revert it. This is probably one of the worst design decisions I've seen made around Sacred Sites so far on any map. So fingers crossed that gets fixed fast. But now we are quickly past that, and we can focus on the players instead, and the action they're going to be commencing with, because we are going to be opening up the Kremlin from Crackety. Like this, positioning it on the west side of the wood line. So remember, this functions as a wooden fortress. It's going to buff up a lot of wood gathering for a long time. Meanwhile, south side, we are going to see the Abbey of Kings coming through. Now, Abbey of Kings, I mean, honestly, I feel like it's the way most times now. You know, unless you're worried about an all-in, heavily armored comp, let's say you're up against HRE person who's rushing you in Feudal Age, or you need to prep for his Castle Age rush with a defense, I don't see Council Hall being the way to go. Council Hall seems sexy because it's 2 archery ranges in one with the ability to now build crossbows, not just archers. But I would alternatively see someone go for an Abbey of Kings build if they really need extra eco, get a second TC, and then come over the top with a White Tower build simply because it's 2 of every military production building in one. We'll see if that's the way that Cal wants to go, but Abbey of Kings just makes a lot of sense. It's very easy to tell. I mean, I like that they made Abbey of Kings more viable. I just don't like that it plays now further into the turtley playstyle of the Civ. Like, building the Knight now, well, the King rather, now gives you a more expensive Knight, but that means you can raid earlier. It also gives you a bit of flexibility to heal on the offensive. And then on top of that, like, the really annoying part about this is, you know, Abbey of Kings becoming more viable probably feels worse for the meta, simply because it gives you an extra layer to your defenses, which are hard to penetrate already due to Network of Castles. Network of Castles, that, fingers crossed, has been fixed since the pop. For those that played on the pop, they may be aware that there was some weird interactions where actually certain units were getting a bigger attack speed boost than they had on the main server, even though they were meant to have lost 5 and 10% respectively at Network of Castles and Citadels level. Speaking of nerfs, here's the one I was talking about. You can see the change here. So the way that the Kremlin now works is every minute you generate a supply, and you can expend one of those supplies, spending 40 food in the process, to spawn 2 militia. I don't think this was a good change. For a start, they reduced the time that the militia live from 90 seconds to 80 seconds. On top of that, they technically nerfed the cost of it as well, because you used to get 6 militia, I believe it was. Wait, was it 5 or 6? I think it was 6, right? Yeah, it should have been 6 for 100 food, and now it's 2 for 40 food. Which, if I am not just misrecalling that, if it was 5, then it's the same. But if it's 6, this is a nerf there as well. I get why they've done it. Like, the changes they have with the militia. Like, the militia, let's just put it like this. Defensive landmarks, Kremlin was following the path of every defensive landmark in AoE 4. It's not defensive at all. It's offensive, and it's offensive to the meta for it to even exist. But the changes they made ensured that instead of Kremlin being a cheesy pick, it's now just dog tier. The reason why Crackety is doing it is he wants to experiment with something new, but this is not the landmark. This thing will not appear. I would be very surprised if the Kremlin makes an appearance in competitive. It's just not... It's not sexy enough. Maybe you could use it to get away with super aggressive kind of booms, right? Where you don't want to, like, build any military units. But that's about as good as it gets. Great damage on the King there, though. Calp jumping the gun with a dive. Great utilization of the Kremlin. I'm still going to flame it, though. Still bad landmark. This was more just on good micro coming out from Crackety. Like, the reality is that this is a stronger Wooden Fortress. It has all the upgrades, right? But, like, a Wooden Fortress would have done about half the damage that they've done to this King. But it still would have been enough to keep Calp at bay. Fast Castle Age Horse Archer meta back? I don't think so. I think it's... The problem is just, like, the Horse Archers are just really underwhelming. They don't do enough. They haven't for a very long time. I think if anything, for Roost players, it's probably just the archery range, all then Feudal is probably their best play still. I don't think anything's really changed there. If you get hyper late game, you have a ceiling of recovery, right? Like in Imperial Age, Streltsy. Not to mention the Bombards. I think hyper late game, like Bombards, is going to be the play for Roos because they turn into giant 50 caliber sniper rifles. You know. Oh, what's that? What's that? A hand cannoneer running towards me? Let me just one tap him. But that's some ways off. I think most of the focus is going to be in the early mid game, so we'll probably be the Feudal all in. Great pivot by Crackety, hopping onto one of the lakes already. Contesting multiple lakes, in fact, and making his way up, mirroring each other because Calp is heading up with the King's Pass, meanwhile Crackety going up with the Abbey of the Trinity. Now, Abbey of the Trinity, you know, it's an interesting one because a lot of people expect it to always be about the alternative, right? Getting your hands on the extra gold generation passively, because technically you could always pick up relics. But I think something that people are sleeping on when they read the patch notes like that is it's almost like we always forget. Abbey of Trinity does have viability via unique techs that you can otherwise not get, that buff Saint's Blessing and make it more desirable in late game comps. I think that's really what you got to keep in mind with this landmark. There's a lot of unique techs that you can't get out of a normal monastery. But that being said, like if you have really good wood lines, most people probably go to high trade house still. It comes back to like what your goal is, because I think one of the problems is like Saint's Blessing probably feels best in Castle Age, because when you go Imperial Age, your unit gets sniped too easily, right? You can lose monks before they even touch. And then on top of that, the damage buff is actually a lot lower as you scale into the game, right? Because it's not a percentage, it's just a 1 base damage increase. Now that is substantial when you're running horse archers, when you're normal archers, when you're running crossbows in Castle Age. But if you start moving into Streltsy territory, they don't really benefit much from it. 1 extra damage is not really going to change the world for them. So if people want to use the Abbot Trinity well, I think it's all about a Castle Age all-in timing. You don't want to be going later. Crackety is looking to press in this Castle Age. Triple stables build. Meanwhile, on the other side, Calp, you might want to build military units. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but military units is usually a good idea in Age of Empires 4. He has got some naval units, but he's kind of losing on the lake side. Right, there's going to be 3 lakes to 1 player, 1 to the other. What is Calp thinking here? I mean, he's wood stretch because he's building units on the water side, but that means he's not building anything on land. By the time he does, most of the relics, if not all of them, are already going to be hoovered up, and he could easily find himself with upwards of 6 to 8 knights diving his base. A base that is very, very saturated with villages right now. I don't know really what Calp is aiming for here. Okay, so he's actually playing in the monastery, but this is too late, though, right? Like, you can't get more than 1 relic here, or you shouldn't anyway. Like, these warrior monks, you know, they got buffed and they take 35 seconds. They used to take the 45 seconds to produce. And he's going to move out quick enough that I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 4-to-1 relic game. Calp, there's no way Calp is thinking Imperial Age, right? There is absolutely no way he's just rushing Imperial Age. Maybe? I mean, it's bold. Like, if Crackety sees that he's rushing Imperial Age like this, you just prep for a dive. You just keep escalating knights, go up to 5 stables, and push. The logic is that eventually, when he tries to go for the Imperial Age build-up, you just slaughter all the villages. Knights are starting to do exactly that, so pressure on, a lot of idle time achieved. Now, remember, these English TCs are Gatling guns, but these Roost Knights have a decent amount of ranged armor, and the Blacksmiths is being prepped, so soon the Undermesh is going to allow him to dive consistently here for long periods of time. In fact, if Crackety's quick about this, not only can he continue to keep all the eco idle, he might even be able to prevent the 1 relic from being banked. Moving in now. Crackety, very aware of the state of affair. And Calp, hemorrhaging villages here. He's going to try to shift them over to the Abbey of Memes to be healed up. But even if he does that, right, it's the idle time of them sitting around not really doing much other than being healed, or maybe if they're lucky getting this 1 trio deer. And they do spot the relic gatherer. So Monk's going to be sniped out. And instant yoink by Crackety. There we go. See you, sucker. Thanks for keeping the relic warm. Now, he could... Oh, he's going to hold them hostage. Now, he wants to, but the problem is that the TC could snipe him. But if he can get in and just stand here, the English villagers don't have many ways of dealing with him. Crackety feeling a bit cheeky. Maybe he wants to get himself a king as well. Oh, no, he can't get past. Focus fire is good. Calp does prevent the relic from being dragged away. But remember, Crackety's still gathering behind this. Now, surprising he didn't try for a roll a little bit earlier. It wouldn't have worked anyway, but this is the worst case situation right now. I mean, Calp, you can't do this, even with the attack speed buff. Oh, this is so much idle time. That's 20+ villages just not working. He's already lost 16. Honestly, I don't know what Calp's plan is anymore. Maybe he thinks he's playing DayZ, because this is playing out more like a survival simulator than it is a competitive RTS game. He has managed to get a few knights together, but Crackety still has great numbers. Honestly, the point we're at here, like if Crackety wants, he could actually tech up into Imperial Age ahead of the English. Probably with an advantage of over a minute. Because he'll just dive with the knights while he's committing, right? So it's like, as you tech up at home, you make sure no gathering is happening in your opponent's base so you can tech up as well. You want to see Crackety spend all the Kremlin points at once? I think that's his plan. So there was actually one strategy theorized that's an interesting one. Remember that the militia that you levy, they actually scale, right? They get stronger in Feudal, in Castle, and Imperial Age. they not only get more health, they don't only get more armor, more damage, they get more torch damage. You see where I'm going with this? If you just keep stockpiling these points and you eventually reach Imperial Age, the torch damage is insanely high. I think it's like maybe 16, something like that. As it stands right now, if he spawned them all, he'd have 20 militias, 20 torches. You can see where this is going, right? You reach 35, 40 minutes into a game and you haven't clicked Levy Militia once. It's very easy to just mash them all at once for only 40 food a pop. And, well, it'll take him a little bit of time to get across, but for quickly, Militia are 1.5 movement speed, so even with a nerf to the spawn generation of 10 seconds, or duration rather, they could still have about 35, if not 40 seconds in the enemy base. Definitely on a map where they're spawned this close. Let's see if he gets an opportunity. Walls are going up, though. Calp has finally realized walls might be a good idea, especially when he knows he can't win in the mid-map. Fights like this are not desirable. Remember, Calp's goal here is to chip away at a few knights, peel back the injured, and heal them with the Abbey of Kings. He doesn't want to get stuck in a prolonged engagement, not even if he has the aura on his side. He's got an interest to get them back home, but this should be where Crackety... Oh no, Calp. Calp! Does Crackety know? He doesn't realize. I'm pretty sure you can click through that wall right there. He has got a gap open here, though. Good job by Crackety, using the galleys to ensure that it can be fully walled. So we'll find his way in. Admittedly, he had a shorter route than was apparent there. But all I just see is like an amassment of knights that Calp has no answer for, and Crackety being capable of reaching Imperial Age in probably the next 2 minutes. Just needs to sort his gold. Plenty of it coming in with 4 relics secured, and now Sacred Sites might start being capped. You're seeing it's actually going to be Calp moving for one first, but would love to see Crackety utilize this. It's just a freebie for him in this type of game. Once he has them, they're not going to be taken back. So what is Calp's plan here? Oh, with his 17-minute wheelbarrow, he might be able to run out and actually build the final piece of the wall before dying. It's going to be tough, though. When you have a full melee comp, he just needs to tap those walls and pray that Crackety doesn't notice. And it looks like he hasn't, so good news for Calp fans. Okay, bad news for Calp fans, because I'm pretty sure that's still walkable. Yep. I'm not sure, actually, because... one's in chat if you think you can go through that. 2's if you think that's actually walled. I think you can go through that, right? Like that, the cutoff point's going to be like here. I mean, I could ram a ram through there, actually. Like, it should be walkable. Calp, I think, knows it as well. That's why it's going to go for a secondary wall. I guess we'll never know. And hello, the build-up's on this way. It's going to be some Sky Tower. But the timing! Crackety. He needs to hold these choke points. Calp just needs to commit to the villagers if he really wants to stop this going up. I don't think he can. Crackety can just throw himself at the choke point long enough. He's wrapping around, in fact. All right, Calp just lost the army. He needs to get out right now, because once the Sky completes, that's going to Gatling gun him down. And he knows it as well. GG will be cool. Calp has no way of recovering here. Crackety, like a sneaky little goose, going up and up again and proving that even with the nerfs, even with the tweaks, the Roos still do what they do best on Four Lakes. They take the lakes, and they take the game. But we didn't get any militia, so Crackety is noobliat. I can't. Actually, no, guys. This is not on Crackety. This is on Calp. Calp quit too early. All right, he prevented us from enjoying the militia Imperial Age rush. Disappointed.